What I'm going to introduce in this video is two very common confusions that you'll see in data sufficiency sequences questions. You don't normally see them together, so this is a very difficult question. As we go through, we'll address each one independently. So let's start with what the question is. In the sequence of positive numbers x sub 1, x sub 2, x sub 3, what is the value of x? Statement 1, x sub I equals x sub I minus 2 for all integers I greater than 1. Statement 2, x sub 5 equals x sub 4 divided by x sub 4 plus 1. Now what we need to think about at the beginning is specifically, okay, well what do we actually need to solve? We need a model for the sequence. And that's statement 1, definitely. That tells us x sub I is x sub I minus 1 divided by 2. And we also need a value to plug in and a specific value that we want to plug in. So statement 1, it just gives us the model. Of course, we have no specific value. That tells us only what x sub I minus 1 is relative to x sub I, for example. So let's just look at that. If we plugged in x sub 2, for example, our lowest one, that's going to be x sub 1 divided by 2. But we only know x sub 2 relative to x sub 1. We don't have an actual value for it, so that's going to be insufficient. Statement 2, x sub 5 equals x sub 4 over x sub 4 plus 1. Now the trick here, and this is one of the difficulties, is that this looks like a model. It doesn't look as if it's going to give us any sort of specific value. But I'm suspicious of it because it's not the same as the model here. And I'm wondering, okay, well, why would that be? That's not a universal model. That's only x sub 5 with respect to x sub 4. So we can't treat it as a universal model. Now, the thing is, we still have two variables in one equation, so that's obviously not going to give us any sort of specific value immediately. Because it's not providing a model, there's no way that we're going to be able to use it to count back to x sub 1. So that's not going to be sufficient. Now, the interesting thing here is these both together, what we'll find using the original model here, x sub I equals x sub I minus 1. So in this case, we can say x sub 5 equals x sub 4, so 5 minus 1, divided by 2 is equal to what we are told it's equal to here, x sub 4, and then it's x sub 4 plus 1. So solve this out, divide by x sub 4 first, and then that's going to tell you that x sub 4 plus 1, just cross multiply here, equals 2. So x sub 4, lo and behold, equals 1. Okay, now we have a specific value. All we need to do is take our specific value, plug that back into our model, and then we'll be able to count down. So from here we can get x sub 3, we can get x sub 2, and then we can get x sub 1. So the answer most certainly is going to be C. Point at which I would recommend that one stop calculating and just move on, because you know definitively what the answer is. Now, if you want to see how a calculation like this would work, so if we take the value and plug it into the model, I'm going to do that for you right now, just to explain how the process would be done, because sometimes it is more comfortable for you if you understand exactly how you would arrive at the answer. So let's step back and plug x sub 4 equals 1 into our model. Knowing x sub 4 equals 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the model, start with x sub 4. So x sub 4 is x sub 3 over 2. So 1 equals x sub 3 over 2 tells us that x sub 3 is 2. Likewise, x sub 3 is x sub 2 divided by 2. So 2 equals x sub 2 over 2. X sub 2 then is 4. And then we can go again. X sub 2 equals x sub 1 over 2, which would of course give us 4 equals x sub 1 over 2, and x sub 1, lo and behold, equals 8. And as you see, you can get a specific value using both of the statements together. So the answer is C, which should help sort you out with respect to those properties of numbers questions. And also, if you enjoyed this, please click the like or subscribe button on YouTube. That's the best way to keep the channel going. Thanks a lot, and I will see you in the next video.